why I prescribe all my patients TLDV. TLDV is the AI meetings assistant. It works with all the programs that your team uses, like Microsoft Teams, Google Meets, and Zoom, compiling AI summaries to keep you up to date on what's really important. It even updates with Salesforce, HubSpot, and other CRMs. Try it today at tldv.io, and I promise you'll hit your quota immediately.
Dr. Funkenstein is not a doctor, nor has he ever claimed to be a doctor. Statements made by Dr. Funkenstein are protected by the First Amendment of the United States and do not reflect the opinions of tldv.io or Bogue Communications, LLC. Guarantees made by Dr. Funkenstein are purely suggestive and should not be taken as medical advice under any circumstances. Similarities between medical professionals and sales professionals may have been exaggerated for dramatic effect. Quota attainment claims are based on incomplete data and subject to change as of the end of this sentence. Talk to your sales manager to learn if an AI assistant is right for you, or just go to tldv.io and do whatever you want, because you're an adult.
Chris Sells His Soul is filmed in front of a live streaming audience, so don't forget to comment throughout the show. The show's about to get started, so grab yourself 2 hearty buckets of popcorn and get ready for a conversation about how to monetize your creative skills. Now it's time for a message from today's sponsor.
Look, I'm a busy dad, so when a salesperson reaches out pitching me, I just say no thanks, explode into hysterical abusive rage, and get back to my day. But then I learned about Pitchfire. They have a much better way. Instead of screaming and getting angry, I actually get paid to respond to salespeople. Thanks, Pitchfire.
Live from Chicago, it's Chris Sells His Soul. I'm your host, Chris Bogue, and this is my show where I have conversations with cool people who will help you work more creatively. Today, my guest is Saad Khan. Saad, welcome to the show.
Hello, great. Thanks for the intro. I'm still on the opening 2 reels, very expertly done, Dr. Funkenstein, so happy to be here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you for joining us. I hope it's expertly done. Unfortunately, we've been having a couple problems in past episodes with Restream, which is the program we use to broadcast this. So, audience, if you are watching this, I need to hear from you today. Saad Khan is here. He's a director of sales at Aligned. We are going to be talking all about teamwork in sales, how to collaborate as a team, how to collaborate with buyers, how to collaborate with marketing. But before we do anything today, we want to hear from you. So if you are watching this live, go ahead, drop a comment, and let Saad and I know where you're watching from. And please make sure you do this because, as I was mentioning, we've had some problems in past episodes where for some reason Restream is not notifying me when I get comments. So leave a comment, let us know what you're watching, and drop any comments you want to me and Saad asking questions about sales. So Saad is going to be talking. He spent a lot of time building sales teams. He's also something of a pioneer in terms of social selling on LinkedIn and unifying activities between sales and marketing. So jump in here, ask us any questions you have. I guess we're going to go ahead and we will get started. So Saad, today's episode is called Selling as a Team. We're going to be getting deep into this right now. Again, we've got 2 sponsors today. Thank you to TLDV, the AI meetings assistant, and Pitchfire. Get paid to respond to salespeople. Thank you for bringing this show to everybody. And Saad, why don't you just start by telling the audience who you are and just give us the brief breakdown of your background.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Saad. It's like sad with an extra A because I'm an extra happy guy. Ha 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 ha. Right. That used to be my cheesy opener, cold call opener. I started my career selling to lawyers. I was actually only a rep for 2 years, and then I was kind of accelerated into management pretty early on. After Clio, I was hired by this company called Enable out of the UK to build out their BDR team. After having only been a rep, I think trial by fire kind of helped me pick up some of my skills. Then after that, I went to a company called Dooley, which blew my brain. Before I went to Dooley, I saw their A's were making music videos on LinkedIn, and I was like, wait, hold on. I thought LinkedIn was a professional platform. What's going on over here? This is way before the Lavenders of the world and everybody started popping through. Interestingly enough, we used to advise Lavender on their content strategy and their sales strategy. Dooley was fun. We did a lot of content, a lot of social selling. That's a time when Chris and I had actually met. This is also a time when LinkedIn became what it is right now. The Facebook come LinkedIn.
Yeah, what would you call LinkedIn right now? What changed?
I have no okay. LinkedIn has gone from a job sourcing platform and a hiring platform to, honestly, I would say business marketing platform, whether it's for solopreneurs or entrepreneurs. Content, we're in the gold mine of the creator era right now with content economics. I don't know if anybody has used that word or not, but I think that LinkedIn has become a medium, a channel for content economics, social selling, and things like that, which brought me to Aligned. Align brought me on to build a bit of a, unique outbound sales system that could help us capitalize on social selling, doing outbound without doing outbound, and just trying to get the company going in the chaos of the doom and gloom of what's happened the last couple of years. We're seeing some good success. The category is growing, the digital sales room category. I'm pretty nerdy about this stuff. I love just looking into the weeds of all the numbers and ups and downs of the jigsaw that make go to market. So yeah, very happy to take a deep dive here.
Yeah, well, okay. I want to start with something that I don't know if this is true or not. This is like what I see a lot of trends in LinkedIn, and I'm not going to be cynical. Maybe I'll be a little cynical.
Yeah.
You see a lot of people who are like first they're a cold calling expert, then they're a TikTok expert, then they're now they're an AI expert, and it just seems like every 12 months or so there's a new fad. It's the only thing B2B talks about. Everybody is an expert in it overnight, and then in a couple months the new fad comes in. So I staked my flag in one place when I started. I'm like, I'm gonna be a video guy. That was my thing. When I started, I'm like, you know what? Video is so important. I see a future where video is only going to be more important. I'm going to niche down on that. Video is my thing. I'm coaching video, sales on video, marketing on video, video for everybody, So it's interesting watching the other fads that people get into, because some people think video is just a fad, right? And so I keep hearing conflicting things right now. On the one hand, I hear people say, sales is back. Oh, Saad, you got to get on the phones. The phones are hot. You got to get on the phones. Also, I see a lot of people who were cold calling experts a couple months ago telling me they don't cold call anymore. And I see people who hate on the LinkedIn influencers and the LinkedIn creators, and they're spending a lot less time talking about cold calling and a lot more time about how to be an authentic content creator. So, as a guy who's actually running a sales team, but as a guy running a sales team who's also quite familiar with content creation and LinkedIn social selling, what is the ratio of that these days for a good team, and how much does your team rely on LinkedIn social selling content, all these kind of fancy things, versus good old fashioned calling and emailing?
Yeah. Short answer, we're doing everything and everything's working. Long answer, the people that were experts were not experts, were engagement experts. They were just hopping onto a trend to get engagement. Half the people, respectfully, that might be on this call right now as well, that were saying outbound is dead. I've looked at all your profiles. You never had the experience to say outbound was dead. Half the people that were saying that, oh, this is dead, that is dead, they've never done the thing that they're saying is dead. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to break down and see what people have done in their careers and things like that. So without being contradictory or without having too many hot takes, which we will have, nothing is dead. Everything evolves. Like outbound is not dead. Cold calling is not dead. What we have done is what all the operators that are actually operating are trying to do is they're contextualizing it with the time and what might be the best way to kind of get it to market right now. We still do cold calls, but before we do cold calls, we're warming these accounts up through content on LinkedIn. So by the time I call them, they're like, yeah, we've kind of heard about Align. What do you guys do again? We do a lot of content. I write for a lot of sales leaders. So by the time my team and I call them or send them a DM on LinkedIn, they're a little bit more open to reading my message. And somebody was like, oh, Saad, people are responding to you because you have a brand. No. I built the brand so people can respond to me.
Yeah, well, so that's a thing that I do too, and people don't really believe me. But it's kind of this chicken and egg problem that I've got into, because the only reason I had the nerve to start making LinkedIn content was because I was discovering moves that my sales leaders had not discovered. Again, namely with video. Yeah. I had found that video was incredibly effective at setting me demos with companies that had been ignoring our calls and emails for years. I was also just able to make them a lot faster than anyone on my team was. And again, I was noticing that my bosses were doing things like having a split for who could make the most creative video. And I was realizing things like, oh no, what happens when you do that is people make 2 videos, they're too long, they're too fancy, they don't work. What you need to do is you actually need to just pound out like 25 videos in a couple hours and send them out, and maybe you'll get like 5 conversations out of that, But you guys need to be doing a greater volume with a shorter duration. And I didn't see anybody saying that. So that's why I started making LinkedIn content. Because I was making LinkedIn content, I had to reach into my back pocket and say, what can I do to get people's attention? What strengths do I have as a storyteller? Turns out I have a 20-year experience writing and performing sketch comedy, doing improvised shows, hosting shows. So I brought all that in. The content started taking off, but then I started getting people saying, oh, well, of course people open your videos. You've got this audience on LinkedIn. You're doing comedy for them. And they don't understand that most of the people who I send a prospecting video to have never even seen my comedy. Like, the fact that I am doing outbound makes them more likely to open. And then if they look me up, if they go to my LinkedIn and they're like, who is this guy? They're going to see all sorts of creative content I put out there. But that's not the reason why that person is looking me up. They're looking me up because I reached out to them with a sales outreach and it was 30 seconds long, Yeah. So it sounds like then, are you not recommending pure cold calling, which is like 100% cold? Because again, if I'm sure he's not watching this and I like him, but I'm going to throw one name out here, and commenters, you can even tag him if you want, but Ronan Passar. I think that's how you pronounce his name. So I always liked Ronan's content. Ronan was a big I would get into arguments with him because he would be like, if you're researching before you're calling, that's stupid and it's going to fail. The only way to do it is to get an auto dialer. So you're calling like 300 numbers a day and literally do not even research them. Literally go in totally blank and just pick it up in the moment. Then I saw him make a post recently being like, oh, I don't cold call anymore. And I'm like, huh? You literally told me I couldn't even research, So do you not do straight cold call? Do you have some sort of warming up process before you call people on the phone? Or do you still sometimes just have your team rip through both numbers and not know who's on the other end?
Both. Yeah. We've created buckets. We've created multiple buckets we tap into. The first one is like the pure cold. That list comes from our customers, lookalike companies. That list comes from understanding our ICP. And that list, success of that list comes from how well I know who I'm calling and what I'm saying to them, right? We have, in my time that I've been at Align, we booked 6th Sense, Gong, Oyster, like some of the world's biggest orgs. 6th Sense was a pure cold call to their SDR director, 5-minute call. At the end of it, he's like, good job, dude. You found out, this is for the audience to know, you got out of me that 6th Sense strategic priorities multi-threading this year. I'll take a call with you. 5-minute call, pure call. I saw a message from Trevor. I think, Trevor, you said that after.
Yeah, he says that's not cold calling. Yeah, and then he says that's a version of demand gen.
I disagree with you, Trevor. This is what we're talking about here. That is not a version of demand gen. That is sales and marketing alignment. Everybody wants to say they understand sales and marketing alignment, but no. as a business, when I'm cold calling is the end point of execution. Before we decide how to cold call, there's a full network of system built in the back end. Who are marketing and sales thinking about we're aligning to? Who are going to be a just likely customers that might convert? Which organizations in the past have actually looked at us that might be a best zone of focus? That's not demand gen, that's just good targeting. And the last bit of that, what I mentioned, is omni-channel prospecting. Omnichannel comes from LinkedIn touches, email touches, and then cold calls. But yeah, we like to warm these up ahead of time. Is it demand gen? Sure. But the conversion is coming from cold calls. And then also, how do we know the effectiveness of demand gen, right? Yes, in theory, we're adding all these accounts and creating content for them on LinkedIn to get them familiarized to us. Yes, we can put a score on it, but do things always go black and white? No. So demand gen, I call it more alignment and working with your teams.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that. So again, audience, if you're watching here, so Trevor jumped in. We're talking about warming up, quote unquote, a cold lead, right? So some sort of interaction before you reach out. Trevor says that's not cold calling. I say I don't care. Like, my whole thing is, I think B2B SaaS companies invent a lot of terms for, Trevor, you got it right here. Just as semantics. And yeah, honestly, I think, and again, not picking on anyone specific here, but I think oftentimes when leadership is too far removed from the actual day-to-day work of winning people over, they spend their time making diagrams and charting out things and giving names to phenomenon. Whereas my whole thing is like, I don't really care. I just feel like you need to be able to embrace any form of outreach. And I teach video because that's specifically something that sales teams just don't feel like they can do.
Yeah.
They say they don't have the time, they don't have the skills, they don't have whatever. So they just don't figure it out. I can get on the phone and make cold calls. I can send cold emails. I can go door to door. You want me to go knocking doors? I've done sales door to door. I can do it all. But I can also flip on the camera and make a 30-second video and send it out in less than 10 minutes. And I know 99% of sales professionals can't do that because they've not spent enough time learning how.
I had a conversation with my boss, and we've done something very interesting about all just semantics, right? All the people saying inbound led outbound signals, et cetera, like, and then people are hating on it. You can hate on all these terminologies. The fact of the matter remains is some people have figured out how to build consistent pipeline for the businesses. So yeah, you can absolutely be like, oh, you're not cold calling, but our sales activities are getting us pipeline. Oh, that's not actual video. Sure, it's getting us pipeline. Oh, that should be attributed to inbound, but is it? And I'll use an example here. Most companies, what they do is when they get a webinar lead or product sign up, they attribute it to inbound. We don't do that. We cut it off. Unless somebody engages with you, if they go book a demo, then it's inbound. If they don't, and sales goes touches it, they convert it via a call, email, or whatever, sales outbound gets attributed in our organization. So we've optimized for conversion, not for MQL, AQL, SYZ. Another thing is we also optimize for revenue capture. Marketing is tied to revenue, not the level of MQL. So nobody cares about how many inbounds we've gotten. We only track what converted.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because it's one of those things where I believe, and part of the reason why I became a solopreneur too was I can be more flexible and I can work faster and I'm not beholden to a lot of the inefficient processes that a lot of B2B and SaaS companies follow. And yeah, it's like sometimes if somebody inbounds, they go cold and you have to treat them like a total cold lead. I always say, easy come, easy go, right? The person that jumps into your pipeline because they filled out a form on a whim, maybe they were Googling 4 other products, you don't know just because they inbounded. There's no chance to know whether or not they're actually sticky. You have to treat each of them kind of like they're special, and again, it's one of those things like, can you do both? It's another thing too. I see a lot of people who are very clever with the LinkedIn content and they're very good at getting, attention and they're very good at getting engagement. But like, if your numbers are not where they need to be, if you're not where you need to be this month and you need more money, you need outbound of some kind. You need to follow up with them. You need to call, you need to email, you need to DM, you need to whatever. And yeah, I see too many people can only do one and not the other.
Yeah. Can I share my screen and kind of share something on this?
Probably. Try and let's see what it does.
Yeah, it should be able to. So the way I'll kind of, I like to break it down. Are you guys seeing the screen where I'm showing the buyer's awareness journey?
I think I got to bring it in here. Okay, so let's see this.
Yeah. So the buyer's journey model is old, right? It's very typical, very old. And it basically suggests that when, where does it go? Let me go back. The buyer's journey suggests that when buyers are going through the awareness stage, that's when they're interacting with videos, blogs, and articles, etc., etc. Somebody engaging with your blog is not a demo request. Let's not forget. Everybody says, oh, but that's inbound. No, in my eyes, that's not. Inbound for me is a demo request. Inbound for me is a pricing inquiry, not a case study. I actually, at every org that I've been at, I've said that this model has been wrong. I'll tell you why. Let's add another layer here called the unaware layer. And let's push these pieces in the unaware layer. So when people are unaware, they're window shopping. Window shopping is done through blogs, infographics, all that stuff, right? There's no intent to buy unless it's a demo. For PLG companies,
product-led growth, if anybody's not familiar with the term.
Yeah. The free try before you buy products. That's not a demo request. That's them window shopping. That's me watching a review for an iPhone and I have no intent to buy, but I can't go and play around with an iPhone and take it at home. So PLG companies thrust a PLG lead into that unaware layer or borderline aware layer that, hey, this is our indication to go do detective work and educate them a little bit more. So a lot of people think PLG is inbound. No, it's not. We get 40,000 PLG leads. We don't have 40,000 customers.
Yeah. I think that's actually a great segment to our great segue to our next segment, Gimme Gimme. Saad, you want to do Gimme Gimme?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, so everybody, this is a part of the show, a little tradition here on Chris Sells His Soul, because there is some nasty misinformation that has been going around about the purpose of LinkedIn, right? You got a lot of people who say the purpose of LinkedIn is for friendship, to make people smile, to selflessly give away value and never ask for anything in return. But here at Chris Sells His Soul, we know that the real reason that LinkedIn exists is to make money. Oh, yes, folks. In fact, it is the only social network that was started exclusively as a way for people to get better paying jobs and find better employees. So every once in a while, in the middle of the episode, I like to pop in a character, and my guest and I like to ask the audience for exactly what it is that we want from them. So, Saad, are you ready to do Gimme Gimme?
Absolutely. I want some money. But the way I get my money is...
Hello! Boss Bogue here! Ready for another episode of Gimme Gimme, the part of the show where I ask you for money. Saad, my audience is here. Many of them are sales leaders. They're on LinkedIn. They have money. What do you want to ask them for?
Hey, if you have budget, first of all, go follow me. That's free. No budget required there. I love the engagement clout. We all love it. Connect with Saad. You can just search me up, Saad Khan, on LinkedIn. Second thing is I'm currently building and selling Aligned. Aligned helps sales teams win more deals, bring down the sales cycle time, and access those sneaky stakeholders that are never part of our deal, and they pop up at the end and say, no, we're not going to buy. We don't have budget. So you were talking about is sales dead? Sales is not dead. Get Aligned and bring your dead deals back to life.
Yeah. Check out Aligned. Go connect with Saad on LinkedIn. If you've never used a QR code, you take out your phone, switch it to camera mode, line it up with the QR code, and connect with Saad. I guarantee he knows more about sales than you do. All right? And while we're talking about it, maybe your prospects aren't ready to jump into the boat just yet, right? And that's totally fine. Instead of setting them up with some 22-year-old SDR, why not create a workspace where they can go interact with the product, ask questions, and engage in a dialogue so they're actually ready to have a productive conversation by the time demo time rolls around? That's what Saad's offering. What you should also do is you should check out today's wonderful sponsors, starting with TLDV. Saad, you know how salespeople are famous for loving to update their CRM?
Hell yeah, and absolutely not.
No, they're not. You're lying to my audience. Your sales reps will never update the CRM, and that's fine because every minute they're not updating the CRM, they should be out there selling for you. That's why you need to get TLDV. TLDV is the affordable AI meetings assistant. It keeps track of all the conversations you're having between Zoom and Teams and Google Meets, creates AI summaries and even sales playbooks so you can make sure your team is spending time on the things they need to be doing, not a bunch of wasted time on CRM. So go there, scan that QR code. If you want to go to tldv.io, check it out for free. Special offer just for Chris Sells His Soul. Get started with TLDV, tldv.io. Saad, do you have anything else you want to ask the audience for?
No, I think I'm pretty impressed by your explanation of Align. So that was great. I do have to say, Megan said she joined late. She must have been updating her CRM before this.
Yeah. What a damn shame. Well, get TLDV while you're at it. And you know what else? Go to pitchfire.com and get paid to respond to salespeople. Right? Our show today is also brought to you by the wonderful people at Pitchfire. And I'm tired of watching sales professionals sit there and bitch about cold calling and cold emailing. All right? It comes with the territory. If you are an important person, salespeople are going to be pitching you left and right. Stop whining about it and go to pitchfire.com right now and start getting paid for it. All right?
Go download Align. Go download Align. It's free.
Yeah. Go to Align too. That's all we have for today. Anything else you want to share with the audience before we get to the second half of our show today, Saad?
Cold calling is not dead. That is all.
Cold calling is not dead. This has been Gimme Gimme. Iggy, roll the tape.
Chris Bogue's LinkedIn.
This is a way outside my comfort zone.
Some people in the audience that are following this, hopefully to cheer me on and not watch me fall flat on my face.
The ultimate improvised public speaking challenge. All giving PowerPoint presentations that they have never seen before in their lives.
As a mother, lies help children.
I have no idea what these words are.
My name is Linda Malone, and I am about to give a presentation on a PowerPoint deck I have never seen before.
My name is Lauren Sermon, and I'm about to give a PowerPoint presentation that I've never seen before.
Oh, they should put me in there. I'd be so funny. Oh.
Hello? Is this Mr. Sherber? It sure is. What can I help you with, brother? Hello. You were not expecting this call. Do you have 17 seconds to learn about Mercifully Short? Is this a cold call? I don't know. You. Never call this number again.
Oh no! Another unsuccessful cold call. You probably don't have time to fuck off.
I got a quota to hit.
Are you spending hours every week cold calling and cold emailing but not seeing results?
There's gotta be a better way.
Introducing the complete guide to selling on video. Whether you're new to sales or a President's Club member, this fast and fun course will teach you to efficiently create short, customized videos that get results. The complete guide to selling on video is not sold in stores. Visit chrisbogue.io and use promo code GimmeGimme to take $50 off while supplies last. Don't delay. Get noticed today.
And we're back. I'm here with Saad Khan. And today we're talking about selling as a team. So there's a lot of ways to do this. Sellers need to act as a team with buyers. SDRs and AEs need to act as a team. Sales managers and sales reps need to act as a team. Marketing and sales. SDRs and marketing. SDRs and product. There's a lot of teams that need to be focused on. And I feel like all the structural concerns of sales make it a game of pitting individuals up against each other. So there's always the board, right? There's always a leaderboard to let you know who's got the most activity, who's made the most money. Things can get very competitive with territories switching around. So yeah, how do you actually foster a sense of teamwork? And I'm going to start here. And again, this is kind of interesting where audience, if you're just joining us for the first time. So Saad is the director of sales over at Aligned. He is managing a sales team. I am a solo operator. I am a coach and solo business owner who does my own thing. So yeah, for me, I feel like it's a lot easier. Like when I started my own business, a lot of the times it feels like cheating because in sales, bosses want everything to be super exact, right? And bosses have a process that they lay out. Here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. And when you're actually selling, you learn that there's actually like 1,000 little moments in a sales relationship, and they don't map cleanly onto whatever process you're working with. But it can be very hard to communicate that to the rest of your sales organization. And then most importantly, buyers don't always fit into our wonderful little structures, you know? So sales teams want every buyer to find from the website, book a meeting online. They go through one demo, then they go through a strategy call, and then they're closed. The real buying process has a million twists and turns in it that often look nothing like that. So yeah, how do you think about setting up processes where sellers and buyers can operate more like a team rather than individuals being pitted against each other?
Yeah. So it's actually not easy to do at a company that's past a certain stage. What do I mean by that?
What stage? Yeah.
If a company is past like 100 or 200 employees or things like that, they've gotten past Series A or B, their systems are so raveled on top of one another tightly, maybe in the wrong way, that it actually is more difficult for them to reset the system and do what we're kind of talk about. But at the start of that, a very basic, small little thing is the reason why sales and marketing were always at each other's neck was marketing. We like, hey, we have all these MQLs, and sales like, hey, they haven't converted. Why is marketing get all the plaudits? Where
MQL, for the audience, not to interrupt, but MQL is marketing qualified lead. If you're in sales, these are typically bad leads. Marketing qualified leads are not known for being super likely to actually turn into a paying customer. Continue, sorry.
Yeah, and you know what? A lot of times they do, but there's a disparity. Marketing will say that, hey, they should close at 80%, and sales like, well, that's a little, a bit too much. So I think what we've done at some of our organizations is at the very start of it, marketing, nobody is tied to an MQL number. We only care about if this number converts to revenue, ARR. That's what forces marketing and sales to talk together and think about, hey, we'll do all these grand ABM campaigns. Why can't we just tone it back a little bit and just do it for companies that are most likely to convert? Who gives marketing that data? Sales. So thinking about it in a very basic way, campaign performances. At Align, what we do is we launch campaigns and we cut them very fast. If the SDRs aren't able to convert, if we're not seeing traction, marketing is pulling the plug on it. We've done that. We've done that really fast. And you know what, we can afford at our stage. But I'll give an example of a company at a much later stage that maybe they can't unravel things that way, but they can try something. So before Align, I was at Vendor. I was hired to build Vendor's inbound and PLG team. What we decided to do, I did not talk to my sales leader as much as I used to work with Ben Staley, our head of demand gen. And this is the experiment we ran. We had to bring the number up for inbound converting leads, but inbound can only do so much about what's coming in, right? So what we decided to do was we bought two tools, Drift and Navatic. My job was to set the team up in such a way that when Vendor released PLG, product-led growth, try before you buy, the team was ready to work off of it. So we weren't ready to build the PLG system. So instead, what we did was we bought tools like Navatic. Navatic is essentially an interactive demo platform tool where if people are hesitant booking a demo with you, people are hesitant testing a trial, you can send Navatic product tours to them and see if they click around a certain bit. If they've clicked to a certain score, that's a trigger for your sales team to reach out to them, be like, hey, you liked it enough, would you be willing to talk to us? So we created these pre-product-led growth leads without having a product-led growth engine. That's just a very basic example of working with marketing to run an experiment for building a motion for the company, or at least building a testing ground for whether Vendor was going to be able to produce PLG or not. The team that I inherited at that time was the lowest performing team at the org. Within the first quarter, we got the team to 99% qualified rate and 110% booking rate. That would not have happened if marketing, that's all documented, it's all on LinkedIn. That would not have happened if we did not ran that experiment. So that's a very basic example of sales and marketing alignment. And that grows into so many different directions. Demand gen, warming up accounts ahead of time. The playbook that we share on the socials as well has like a lot of things built into it. And that's what it comes down to. The main bad blood is because of siloed working. Marketing is just trying to figure their things out. Like, hey, this should work well. Let's take it to sales. And sales has never been used to giving marketing feedback, or never been able to give marketing feedback that makes marketing go, okay, you know what, we're going to drop this. And that doesn't come from reps. That comes from leaders setting up that system in that way.
Okay, yeah. So I want to get, I put the question up here, where does this bad blood come from sales and marketing? And I'll start by speaking for myself. When I was in sales, like in a proper sales org, I always felt like, what the hell are these marketing people doing? Like, it always felt like the things they were doing had absolutely no correspondence to the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And maybe we can also talk about this, like you were talking about earlier, with like more established orgs versus newer ones. And I find more established orgs actually get into this problem. And Saad, I'm sure you've been in a situation like this before, but I've been in situations where, like, if anybody has never done sales before, sales is like the closest you can come to actually understanding the voice of the customer, because that's what you're doing. You are talking to buyers. You are convincing them to take on the product. And this process requires a lot of questions and a lot of listening to the problems that they're actually going through. Yes. And what happens when companies expand is leadership stops talking to the people that are actually on the phones making the sales. They start looking to their other competitors of what they want to be in the future. And they start working with marketing and product, and they start coming up with all these grand ideas for what the product is eventually going to be. Mm-hmm. And as a seller, I remembered seeing all these marketing materials touting these features that were not ready yet, talking about things that the product doesn't actually do yet. And I would get furious because I would be saying, look, the buyers are telling us why they're not buying the product, and it's because they want to do X, Y, and Z, and those are not things that our product offers, and those are not things I see anywhere in these marketing materials. Yeah. So how do you navigate that, and what have you found is the suggestion for, like, again, it seems like there's a battle between like what leadership wants the product to be versus what it actually is. Sales is selling the product for what it actually is, whereas I feel like oftentimes marketing is selling what the product wants to be in the future. So yeah, how do you square that and actually get everybody on the same page in a buying process?
So this happened at Dooley. My VP of Sales, Michelle Peach. So Michelle IPO'd Datadog, and she was the VP of Sales at Drift. So she was coming with a lot of experience. My first one-on-one with her, she said this to me. She's like, Saad, I'm not part of your team. Your team is sales, marketing, and CS. And this is the brilliance of Camille Trent is a very well-known content marketer. Mark Young, very well-known marketer. Mark and Camille were my best friends when we were at Dooley. Zoe Hartsfield was also on our team on the partnership side. I used to talk to them more than I used to talk to my team. And this is what Camille used to do. Camille and I used to go on one-on-one calls for an hour, and we used to record our entire session. There would be so many Tyler's in the chat. Tyler knows it. Tyler was hired as our head of account management. That was exactly it. The way marketing and sales at Dooley was, Camille used to sit with me and talk to me for an hour, take notes, just the pure detective work. And she took a deep interest in it. This was a marketer that was tasked to create content to educate the sales industry. She was tasked to talk like sellers. She was tasked to talk to sellers like sellers. The logical thing to do there is be in your seller's ears and vice versa. On the flip side of that is that this is the most fascinating thing that we did at Dooley. All marketers would agree that gating is bad, right? We always gated our content. You know why? that exhibits intent. But what we did was we did a balance. We used to release a report, we used to gate the full report, and we used to ungate the summary. So we did the two things. We got the market educated, but we also captured leads. I did this back in 2019 at my company, Clio. And throughout the last 2 years of market, I was like, oh, don't gate your content. They were wrong. You know why I can proudly say they were wrong? I've said this in the past, but Anthony Caneda, he was a CMO at Drift. He went on a podcast the other said that, hey, I don't believe in gating anymore. So there's a shift. Now that deals aren't closing, leads aren't converting, marketers are shifting. No, Trevor, I agree. Not all marketers agree, but it seemed like they all did that gating was bad. And now there's a shift going on. So, but the shift has been forced because these leads need to now close and convert. I think we also hang around sometimes the top 5% circles where a lot of the audience that we speak with and know in our network, they would believe and they would be more in line with kind of the things that we're talking about, that I'm talking about. But majority of the industry is still just because somebody put it on LinkedIn, let's believe it. Let's just, I think it takes brevity to try something. So on the flip side of that, so yeah, there's these companies that are kind of stuck in the middle. Did you see recently ZoomInfo, the data overlords of the world, is now doing community. Now they're doing influencers. ZoomInfo never did that. But Apollo went to war with them on the socials, and now ZoomInfo has a community marketing team. ZoomInfo sales team is now talking to marketing way more than they ever did before. They can afford to unravel their systems because they're making billions of dollars a year. And now they see that's where the market is going. So now they're adopting the content model, the community model, which is so fascinating. But the people that are like in the middle, the mid-market and some lower enterprises of the world, they're stuck.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think when you say that, not to get a philosophical here for everybody, I'm asking the old philosophical question: what is the sound of one hand clapping? It's pretty crappy. But yeah, you need to be able to talk with somebody, and it's so funny that you mentioned, I'm like, how did you do all this stuff at Dooley? And your solution was the head of sales and the head of marketing had an hour-long conversation where they talked through everything and also kept track of the responses.
It takes two to clap. Sales and that's it. Like,
but it sounds so easy. Why doesn't anyone do it?
Honest answer, you're not hiring the right people. You're hiring the people that have a big name and you're expecting them to just figure it out. There's honestly not that many people that have the capability of going and figuring something out that they've never done before. And there's even lesser people that have it figured out and they can move around. Because you're successful, why would you want to move around? Also, the people that are able to innovate and find these things, a lot of them are not interested in going to early stage companies where you're afforded the opportunity to experiment, but it also comes with a heck load of risk.
Yeah. Trevor made another interesting point that I'll put up here. He says, not all marketers agree that gating is bad. And yeah, and again, I like to explain, just because sometimes we have people who watch the show and they're not super up on sales and marketing. So gating means that like the recipient or the audience needs to go through an extra step before they can access your content. So usually this is providing an email. So if you've ever been on a website where you need to put in your email before you can read the content, that's gating. Gating also applies to charging people. So if there's a paywall, if you got to pay $10 in order to access the community or whatever, that is also gating. So there is this... and actually, Trevor, I'm glad you pointed this out, because as Saad, as you kept saying, all marketers agree that gating is bad. I'm like, I don't know if that's true, because even me, as somebody who does a lot of outbound, as somebody who puts a lot of free content out there, I'll even do soft gating sometimes, where like I will put out, like, an example of soft gating, as I would call it, is like, let's say I put out a guide. Like, I sell a course on video prospecting, but let's say I've got a video on my website that's like a 10-minute guide on prospecting, and I make a LinkedIn status about video prospecting. I'm like, hey, if anybody wants access to that video, shoot me a DM. Now, they could go find that for free, but if someone takes the extra step and shoots me a DM being like, oh, Chris, I'm really interested in that video selling guide, like, that's a strong signal. Like, they were actually able to go request that from me. And that shows a level of intention that most buyers don't have. So, yeah. Is the jury still out on that? Did we even know if gating is good or bad? Yeah, Saad.
No, I think I would agree with Trevor, and that's me making the same mistake as I'm suggesting we shouldn't. Like, not everything is good, not everything is bad. Is exactly that. But I will still stress that the marketing gurus of the world, like, I think the shift is still happening. I think we haven't fully shifted yet. And it's coming from being forced into doing those things. On the second part, Trevor also said ego about hiring. Yeah, I mean this respectfully, but every time, at least in the last couple of years, when you had to think about your next sales leader hire, let's go get somebody from HubSpot and Salesforce. Respectfully, hey, we're HubSpot, Salesforce. Oh yeah, like, let's buy your product. Oh yeah, we know you. Versus, hey, call from a line. Sorry, who are you? It's completely two different things. And now I'm seeing more and more people saying that you're actually better off getting a more innovative leader from a smaller startup that's done 0 to 1 million or 10 million. They could come up with better solutions for you than somebody that just picked up from 10 to 20, 30 to 40, et cetera, et cetera. And there's two problems to solve for, right? One is, how do we get something off the ground that's never flown before? Second is, this thing is flying. How do we make it fly faster? Both those ends, innovation kicks into gear. Absolutely. It's just a matter of where do you want to place your bets? And I don't think people are good at betting when it comes to SaaS and sales.
Yeah, well, because nothing in this damn world is supposed to last. You know, like, I don't know. And again, that's the thing. And we can go back into. So I'm actually gonna pull up this slide here because we're flying through this interview, but I want to talk about emotions. And you know, it's one of those things, and this is kind of the thing that drives me nuts about sales is like, if you make money, you're a genius. And if you miss a quota, you're a failure. And it disregards a lot of what goes into like how these deals are won.
Yeah.
And again, I've been in organizations where really hot seller gets promoted away from the hottest territory, and someone gets in their spot, and all of a sudden they're closing these giant deals. And it's like, hey, I'm not going to hate, you know, but you had the benefit of a top performer who was warming up those leads and building relationships for years, you know? And yeah, I know. And again, that was the thing with me is like, I was not a huge success when I first started doing this, but I was discovering things that were working that I wasn't noticing. And yeah, I was looking at the big content creators and people at Salesforce and Gong and stuff. And yeah, part of me was thinking like, well, when you're the industry leader, it's easy to lead with that, you know? And when you're a total nobody from a company they've never heard of before, and they don't even want to talk to you because they're already in an exclusive agreement with that top competitor, you've got to be creative, you know, for how you're going to break that relationship open. But a lot of it is like, it's attitude, it's self-control, it's patience. Sometimes you've got to know when to ignore bad advice and just go. I mean, like, you know, I joke TLDV is our sponsor, you know, and they're an AI meeting assistant company, but I know almost every top performer I've ever met in sales knows when it's time to stop updating the CRM, ditch a couple meetings, get yelled at by your bosses because you need to get a couple more appointments on the calendar this week. You need to get a couple more contracts in. The only way to do it is to knuckle down and work hard. And that means not doing some bullshit work that's sometimes being tossed on your plate. But it can be very easy to get resentful when things aren't going your way. You're not getting the space you feel you need to do the outreach. Maybe you're being pushed to do messages and tactics that you think are bad. And again, I'll bring this up because you keep bringing up Dooley. Dooley was famous for this company that blew up overnight. All of a sudden, everybody saw Dooley everywhere. And then all of a sudden, everyone from Dooley was dissipating, and suddenly no one was talking about Dooley anymore. Same thing with Lavender. I love Lavender. I got into kind of a problem with this show where Lavender hired a bunch of people who were on my show. I brought in a bunch of guests that were on Lavender. We did a couple episodes talking all about Lavender. The next day, all of Lavender's content creators were gone and all their social media was gone. And yeah, people can talk about these things in a very dismissive way. So Dooley, when Dooley was making tons of money and everybody was talking about Dooley, everybody at Dooley was a genius. Then when that party was over and everybody left, everybody used it as the cautionary tale. Oh, look what happened to Dooley. That must have been wrong. How do you not get angry? How do you keep these relationships alive after you've left an organization? And how do you not get pissed off when you think people are just being unfair and judging you wrongly from their perspective?
I did get angry. How did I not get angry? By getting angry at first, by being resentful at first, by being butthurt at first. I think what I'll also preface this with is what you said earlier. The best sellers have short memory. If you hit quota, you have to start from scratch. If you don't hit quota, you absolutely have to start from scratch. The second thing is the best sellers look at their career, not at like what I did this year, and like a holistic overall timeline of their career. Am I consistently up and to the right? Sales is so cyclical. So like Dooley was not able to, like, we did a lot of good things there, but then we were one of the first companies to do a layoff because we had insane amount of burn and the industry was going to complete trash. And the numbers for sales tech, the need for sales tech completely died off. Like we went from a must have to a nice have product. And that's just a reality of what every industry does. And now it's back up. That product category is all the way right back up. One of my BDR was still there, sold one of the biggest deals there, things like that. Now, how do you not be resentful? We're good. We're very good. Kevin Dorsey, the day we got laid off, I got a call from Kevin Dorsey, and he was like, "You need to hear this." I said, "What?" He said, "When we hit quota, we celebrate. When we don't, we cry. Do we ever sit down and reflect on the journey and what we did and all the things that we take away?" I had a lot of incredible, brilliant memories, relationships, people learning to take away from Dooley. The point that every single company that I've been to, I've just tried to turn them into Dooley 2.0. I'm doing this here at Align right now. I talk about it all the time because I loved every bit of it. And yeah, it hurt, but I learned a lot. And the way you don't look back in anger is you don't get mad, you get even. And my way of getting even is I like to win. I fucking love to win. And I like to go prove a point at any organization that I go to. I was like, I might fail in the moment. I might fail up and down, but at the end of it, I don't fail ultimately. Like I will give you what you hired me here for. Otherwise, fire me or send me to the next thing. So yeah, I don't know if I ramble. I don't know if I made sense there, but I always had belief in what we were doing. And I hope I can continue to do that at Aligned or any other org that I go to. And I'll speak favorably of Aligned. I'll speak favorably about the work we did at Dooley as well.
I'll speak bluntly and maybe more hopefully, but also maybe more cynically. And I'll say, look, nobody gives a shit about your tech company. And certainly not about the specifics of your quota at the specifics campaign. And what I mean by that is when you're on a PIP, when you're laid off, or even like, let's say you miss your quota and you just feel shitty because, you wanted to accomplish that. Your buyers don't know that. They just don't. And the more I do sales, the more I learn. It's like, human beings aren't designed to be like, human beings are not designed for sales roles. Like we're not designed to be acutely aware of our flaws. We're not designed to be rejected multiple times a day. Like human beings as animals seek safety, and camaraderie and acceptance, you know? So being in a sales environment just messes with your head and makes you think that you're worthless all the time. And, you know, if there's anything I want anyone to take away from this episode, it's that like half the stuff, all your metrics, all the hype, all the LinkedIn commentary, that stuff is 99% invisible to your buyers, you know? So it's like, if you go out there feeling like $1 million, if you go out there interested in them and open to them and curious about them, that's what your buyer remembers, you know? And yeah, you gotta sometimes just shake it off and find people who lift you up and make you feel better. And like as a boss, you know, you got to realize that like your sales reps are their own biggest hindrance and their own biggest worst enemy. And, you know, you got to find a way to address their mindset because that can trap them.
I always say, Chris, that nobody signs a contract to do a bad job. If one of my rep is not about to hit quota, me asking why are you not hitting quota is not helping. They're more stressed out. When you're stressed out and your friend says, hey, don't stress out, that's the worst thing somebody can say, right? When you're upset, oh, don't be upset, you'll be fine. That's the worst thing I can hear in that moment. Hey, why aren't you hitting quota? I'm probably more stressed out, and you asking me this is definitely not helping. So that's it. I left that organization with people that are still friends, mentors, and all that stuff. And yeah, it did. Honestly, it took me, I think, up until recently at Aligned, getting some numbers under my belt to start feeling like I was past the PTSD. Like I got my confidence back a little bit. Chris, we spoke about that. But that's just the honest reality of it. I fake a lot of this confidence, but on the inside, I'm absolutely insecure like every other rep. That's what we're tied down to. It's not easy. This industry is not easy. It's just all, I think the entire sales game is between our ears and eyes, like right up here.
Yeah. And to just bring it full circle too, you know, marketing, like you can help sales show up looking better, looking more confident, more clearly telling the story that your organization needs to tell. And again, we'll end this by saying no one does it alone. You know, remember, if you're out there, no matter who you see, no matter what kind of company they work for, no matter how many LinkedIn followers they have, everybody suffers from this. I've never had a top performer on my show who didn't suffer from some form of this. So we're all doing okay. Look out for your team. Do everything you can to support them. And if your team isn't giving you what you need, it might be time to find another team. Saad, I could talk to you all day long, but unfortunately, we are at the end of our show. One more time, if our audience is just joining us right now and they want to connect with you, where should they go do it?
I guess you can search me up, Saad Khan, on LinkedIn. I post a lot of content, pretty active. Love networking as well. So yeah, if you ever want to talk about sales, aligned, just also leadership is a lonely position. So if you just want to get things off your chest that you can't talk to your bosses about or your reps about, happy to chat.
Yeah, Saad's a great guy. Reach out to him, connect with him. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. My name is Chris Bogue. Chat with me, connect with me. I'm a chatty Cathy. I connect with basically everybody. So go find me. You can find previous episodes of Chris Sells His Soul on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay tuned. Next week, we are returning live on Friday with a new episode of Death by PowerPoint. And thanks again to today's wonderful sponsors, TLDV, the AI meetings assistant. Check them out for free at tldv.io. And Pitchfire, the website that pays you to respond to salespeople. Get signed up at pitchfire.com. Thanks a lot, everybody.